What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So it is that time of season once again. So institutions are disclosing their positions to the SEC, and there's one that I do want to share with you that is extremely bullish. So once again, I'm going to share all that with you. Over and above that, Bach recently did participate in a podcast. And he does say a lot of good things for Lucid. So once again, I'm going to share the Cole's notes with you and go over all the data points that investors really need to know. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So welcome back to the $7 range. As you can see on the intraday chart, very much optimistic today. And there's a lot of different factors that is really pushing it higher. One of which is the technicals. Technicals are very oversold. And even though it's up roughly about 5% today, still considered oversold at 24 on the stochastic. You do see that deviation still black line above the red, showing a nice bullish sentiment is there right behind the scenes. Momentum, number of retail investors are very much up today. RSI is also at 43. And on the actual chart, it is successfully moving from the lower to the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band. And normally that central Bollinger Band is a very heavy resistance, but the fact that it's pretty much going through it like it's nothing is very optimistic. So again, goes to show that Lucid is at a very substantial discount to what it is and what it should be. Even more so looking at the multiples, the future multiple for Lucid is in fact 7.1. So very, very undervalued to what is going to be offering in 2023 and onward. So I think that's one factor that is really piggybacking and helping Lucid to go up. In addition to this, so Morgan Stanley recently did boost their China GDP up roughly about 5.4%. And when it comes down to Morgan Stanley, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know they're the bearish institution out there. As soon as any sign of fear, they're the first ones to shout recession. And so the fact that they're very much optimistic about China is very good. And again, the reason why I'm bringing up China and why this is very much benefiting the broader market is technically because over the last 2 months, give or take, China's really affected the market because of their lockdowns. And they recently changed that over the last little bit, so really stopping those lockdowns. So again, that's definitely very positive for China, and of course that does translate to the States. In addition to that, there's also a little bit more optimism about the upcoming CPI data coming out on the 12th, though on Thursday I believe it is. So let me know your thoughts on all of that as well. Give yourself a shout out in the comments below if you've been adding, selling, whatever it is. Give yourself a shout out in the comments below. Starting off though with the actual podcast. So Bach did do a 1 hour and 8 minute podcast. The negative aspect is it's in German. So for those of you that do speak German, I'm going to link it in the description below. On this website, it does have a transcript, but it is only still in German, so not in English, so a little bit more of a downside. But the positive thing about Twitter is there are some individuals that maybe do understand it. So as you do see, Tristan does talk on this, saying Bach just said in a German podcast that Lucid already has many orders of the Sapphire, but no numbers were given as of right now. So again, that's a very positive thing because the Sapphire does have roughly about 18 to 19% profit margins from what I've kind of researched from similar companies versus the Pure or Grand Touring is roughly about the 14 to 15% range. So very much beneficial these sales for the Sapphire. And unfortunately, I've been one of the more negative individuals on the Sapphire. I didn't really see it justifiable at that price tag, but based on this podcast and hopefully this upcoming earnings, it is very positive to see. So again, I'm very much wrong about the Sapphire. I'm the first to admit that. And hopefully this is the start of many good things to go with the Sapphire. So again, that's a very exciting thing to hear from Eric. Over and above that, he does say this. So everyone deep down really wants a Lucid Apple partnership, I think, for a long time. And unfortunately, Apple really did neglect to come out with their partner by the tail end of 2022. So adds to the speculation a little bit. But in the podcast, Bach was asked Apple or Google, and he does answer Apple. So once again, maybe there is something in the mix coming for Q4. Who knows at this stage in the game, but definitely very exciting. And like I said, I'm going to have this linked in the description below for those of you that do actually speak German. But like I said, when it comes down to it, it is that time of season that it is institutions disclosing their position. And there is one very much optimistic one, and that is right here. And over and above that, I'm just going to also give you an update on Ortex as well while I'm here as far as shorts. But looking as far as the holders, so you do see the PIF, they have 1.11 billion. They recently did submit their Form 4 on December the 22nd when they did increase their position. There's also the Vanguard, Blackrock, and various other ones. I want to bring your attention to Blackrock. So Blackrock did submit on December the 31st, 2022, their actual position in Lucid, and it looks like it is 28.18 million, an increase of 1.59 million. And the fact that they increased is very, very significant because as of late, they've been really coming out with a lot of negative articles, been kind of how they've been really hurting financially. Latest was this. So BlackRock saying that they're halting withdrawals from the 4.2 billion UK property fund, and similar ones as this as well. And I think in general, there was a very big indication that BlackRock and Vanguard and a lot of other institutions were going to have reduced their position, but it does look like it is the opposite. And I'll just sort this right now as far as the date. So December the 31st, so you do see BlackRock, Geode also did increase 235,000 shares, First Trust 6.13 million, and 𝗪𝗏 Assets 6.96 million. So a lot of big institutions behind the scenes are all increasing their position. So very much positive, and I think there is a lot more to come as well, especially when Vanguard does disclose their position as well in Lucid. That will be a very, very exciting thing. And like I said, while I'm still on Ortex, I'll just give you a quick update on shorts because I like to use them as a fairly good benchmark to the opposite individuals because clearly they're very much doubtful of Lucid. Short score is currently 87, utilization is 100%, and exactly what they are doing today, and the market's only open for another about 4 minutes, it is flat. When I was recently looking, they were up almost about 1 million shares. So the fact that they did reduce their position is very, very positive. And hopefully you guys can see this chart right here, but it says return shares. You notice how it's just a massive spike. That most likely is that 2 million that I just recently saw where they did reduce their position. So once again, I think behind the scenes, they're very much doubtful about Lucid going down. So once again, validating exactly what I've been saying, why Lucid is still very much going up. And I think in the grand scheme of things, Lucid is at a very substantial discount. And the only thing that could really deter it at this stage in the game is the CPI data that is coming out. So even though it is very much optimistic, a lot of institutions are assuming it's going to be going down, there still is that chance that it potentially could go up. And just by looking here, this is a lot of the big institutions and their thoughts on CPI, but generally just looking at this chart, it clearly is a very good downtrend. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below, as well your thoughts on BlackRock increasing their position in Lucid. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel, want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.